Hello everyone, Cannon Fodder here. So for this video, I wanted to just give my opinion on a few things that I feel take away from the enjoyment of Monster Hunter that I personally have. Now, while I do still enjoy the game, and please don't take this as a rant that I hate the game, I feel it is nowhere near as fun or engaging as Generations Ultimate, or Monster Hunter 4U, which are the only other Monster Hunter titles that I've played. For anyone new to this channel who is wondering why I should listen to this asshole's opinion, I can't really say why you should, since I only have a few thousand hours in all of the Monster Hunter games I have played combined, which, let's be honest, are noob numbers as far as I'm concerned. But hear me out and then let me know in the comments whether you agree, disagree, or have other additional gripes taking away from your enjoyment of Monster Hunter World. And if you liked the video, press that thumbs up button and the subscribe button if you have not already. Also, as a quick note on why I chose the gripes that I did, I am not going to mention issues that are going to definitely be fixed in Iceborne, the new DLC coming from Monster Hunter World, like there being so few monsters to fight or the lack of equipment to craft, since there is no doubt that these gripes will be alleviated with Iceborne. So without further ado, the first issue is that there's no Tigrex. I know, that one should be fixed in Iceborne since Tiggy uses the same skeleton as Nargacuga. Alright, so the real first issue is how easy the game is. Now, I'm not saying I'm an elitist by any stretch. I will actually admit that I am only average, and that is only if you let me stretch it. But there is next to no challenge in Monster Hunter World compared to the older titles. When soloing monsters, even without using mantles, don't get me wrong, again, I am not here to brag or argue elitism. I still cart, and I am not a speedrunner. But it just does not feel that there is as much of a challenge as there could have been. This may be due to some of the new moves with weapons, or always being able to go back to camp and restock items. I don't know. It just, to me, it feels a lot easier than the older titles. Second issue, and one that may have been made worse trying to make Monster Hunter World more difficult, is the length of time a monster can crowd control or CC the hunter. Now, I consider CC to be anything that takes control of the hunter away from the player. So roars, tremors, wind, knockouts. These last a little too long, especially when compared to the older games. I always joke about most of the CC being long enough that you can go make a cup of coffee. Oh. Now, I know what you may be thinking right now as you furiously type in the comments, "Get good." But while yes, getting good would solve this issue, sometimes it's unavoidable because the monster flinches into a roar mid-attack, or you miss the dodge roll by a frame. Not being able to do anything for 20 plus seconds because two monsters decided they wanted to have a screaming match instead of a turf war, or getting KO'd first hit of the hunt and then carting without being able to do anything can be rather frustrating. Fixing this would be as easy as just shortening the length to the previous titles, or even adding resistance for hunters that lessens the time each subsequent CC on the hunter goes on. Also, bring back being able to fiddle with the controls or mash the buttons to get out of KOs a little faster. I don't know if this is still in World. I've heard conflicting arguments. I'm too lazy to go count frames to see if it is true, but it doesn't seem like it is. The third issue for me is timed events. I do not know about any of you, but sometimes I feel like fighting a certain monster. Looking at you, Pickle. But World can have a month or more go by without being able to get specific quests and the associated items for those quests, which can be very off-putting if, say, you had a real-world issue or system issues that prevented you from playing for a few weeks when an event went live. I can understand why this was done, as it adds a carrot to bring hunters back every so often when an event goes live. I would argue, though, that having access to all of the quests all the time and then adding in drop rate bonuses or extra zenny on weekends or during event times would be a better model for the consumer. This would also stop the drought of content that sometimes occurs now, where there's next to nothing to do as far as events, so you're kind of forced to go back and just grind decorations only. Fourth issue, and probably one of the biggest reasons I get bored of playing Monster Hunter World, is the tempered monsters. These versions of monsters definitely feel like padding, since they have nothing added to them but extra damage. Now hear me out on this one. I know a grindy game like this needs padding to have enough content for gamers, but the hunts in high rank feel exactly the same as tempered hunts. Has anyone else gone on autopilot when fighting a monster just to realize that it was not a tempered monster, but a high rank, or vice versa? Maybe it's just me. Coming from playing a lot of Generations, where the equivalent of a tempered monster is the hyper monsters, you can understand why tempereds are kinda lackluster. For those of you who don't know, in Generations, hyper monsters' timings on attacks change, along with the attacks hitting harder. So these fights have a different feel to them and need to be approached more cautiously. Now going back to tempered monsters, they feel exactly the same as high rank, so it makes the grind feel worse. Since you have already fought these monsters all through high rank, now you have to essentially do it all over again for the rest of the game. Then add on to the fact that even most of the tempered monsters are not worth fighting, since they do not drop anything useful after only a few hours. Finally, if you do want somewhat of a different fight, there are arch-tempered monsters that have like one extra attack built into their moveset, along with extra HP and damage. But then again, going back to previous issues in this game, these quests are not available all the time and are not worth doing after a couple quests. In older Monster Hunters, there are reasons to farm multiple endgame monsters, since you need a lot of their pieces to make and upgrade each different kind of armor and weapon. Even though this is more of a grind to get specific material drops, it doesn't feel like it. I think I'm gonna end with those gripes, while I could also comment on the decoration drop rates, or how I find the multiplayer SOS system boring and only helpful to grind, but not really enjoy the game or hunts. But I'll let you all argue for or against those points being issues in the comments if you feel like it. Again though, I want to make sure that this rant does not come off as me hating on Monster Hunter World. I do still enjoy Monster Hunter World and think it is worth the full asking price of the game. If you have stayed this long, then thank you for watching. Please stop by my Twitch channel if you want to chat or hunt with me. See ya.